Hey you guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Ellie Jńe, your space curator and lifestyle ambassador. So today we are going to be talking about all things space curating, right? It is time to set the foundation of what am I talking about, where is this coming from, who is this woman that's the CEO of a Seat at the Table series. So let's go ahead and get into it. First thing that I wanted to talk about is how I got into space curating. Well, one of the biggest things that I started to notice as I was perusing through the community, going through my corporate space, building my own company, and really just going to family functions and things like that, I started to see what is a good space that I was in and what is a bad space that I was in. And the biggest thing that I noticed in both areas is that I did not like going into spaces that were considered bad because people capitalized on my time. And then the other thing that I could not stand is that I wasn't able to actually communicate with structure based upon the topic of that night with those within the room. So listening to someone talk me to death, oh my gosh, was so irritating. I was like, I could have read this. Like, you know how they say you could I could have got this in an email. You could have sent this in the email. The whole point that people uproot themselves and go into a space is to be able to chat with the people around them. And some of the things that I saw that was cool in the good spaces that I was in was I was able to communicate and I was able to actually connect and get to meet people within the room at where they are with our common interests. So one of the places that I enjoyed this the most was this one it was a hobby that I was having at the time, and I just went there and we would talk about not only the subject at hand but things that surrounded that subject at hand. And I love there's 2 to 3 people that I met that still follow me on Instagram. 2 out of the 3 I actually chat with on a day or month-to-month basis because we have that commonality, and because that space facilitated something for us to be able to really talk about what we were really invested in, excited about, and then talk about the things around it. I was able to make a friend or a familiar face out of that. So space curating for me is about who is privy, aware enough, and knows the art of connection and how to bring in and curate that art of connection within any space, no matter what your role is in the room. So in saying that, let's go ahead and get into the ways that you could be able to facilitate this space and the tools to be able to facilitate this space. Why are we talking about connecting and you go straight to money? Well, the biggest thing that I wanted you to understand, and those watching to understand, is that budget is very, very, very important to understand that you don't have to have a lot of money. It's about being privy to what do I have right now, right? Anyone who has $0 to an unlimited check to be able to bring people together can always bring people together. But you want to know at the forefront so you can be able to know how to navigate your space that you are curating, right? So with that budget, you end up having real conversations of, okay, this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. Also, the other thing that you want to understand is it's not about how much money you spend. Now, at the end of the day, you can spend a lot of money and buy them great gifts and bring celebrities and things like that. But the worst thing that you would walk away with is people just taking from your experience and they feel like they didn't get anything out of it and you didn't get anything out of it. It was just more so of like people being there to be wowed and not really adding to the environment that you are trying to bring. So let's get into the next topic. The theme has to come after knowing what your budget is, because you want to know how far and long you can be able to go and is it feasible for the actual space. But once you know what's feasible for the space that you're going in, is understanding your theme, right? A theme is something like I use this example all the time, even on my podcast, is say that, an oil company is at their 50th anniversary, right? And the biggest thing that they wanted to do is remind that their employees and those that are stakeholders in their company is that they're moving and navigating into a new direction of being healthier for the planet, right? We care about our planet. So what would that theme be? It would not be appropriate to have a 50th anniversary, right? No, the best way to curate that space is the actual message that the company is looking to usher in after their 50th, and look back and reflect is, hey, we are doing better things for the planet. So you might have a theme of a jungle, you might have a theme of the world, you might have a theme of natural products. That is something that allows people to come into that space and say, I see what they're doing, and I am here, and I'm showing up because I believe in what they're doing. And there is a sense of connection, there's a sense of expectation that they have on you. And on top of that, you have an expectation of your guests to be able to fully indulge in the reason of why you're showing up. The biggest thing that I wanted to talk about with the theme is people will not invest in something that they do not feel like they connect with, right? Great example, right? If there is a political party going on and I do not have a special interest in politics, right? More than likely, I'm not going to show up. Now, if a friend asks me to go with them to the party, I'll go, but it's the same thing with church, right? Those who have a church home and someone's like, well, come see my church. Well, you'll go for a few Sundays because you like your friend and they ask you 3 times a year to go. But for the most part, you're not going to commit to that church because that church, more than likely didn't have anything that kept you there. So a theme is very important to know that you articulate the theme and connect it to a real cause so people can actually connect. Once you know how much money and you know the theme, start looking at the food. Yes, because with that, the food will be able to draw people in as well. I personally will not show up to most events if there isn't food, because there's a huge capitalization over my time, right? Most events are between 1 hour and 2 hours, right? And in that, I want to snack on something, I want something to drink, I want to feel comfortable, I want to feel at home, right? So with that, food must be something that is talked about before you even send out publications that you are going to have something going on, right? So with that, you build your menu based upon your theme. Now, the example that I use with the oil company, and it's their 50th anniversary, and they have this planet theme. Food might be something of healthy choices, right? You don't want to have something like ham hocks and, like all of this fatty, terrible, unhealthy food, because yes, the people might enjoy it, but it doesn't run with the actual theme, and then it's just a bad look, right? So a good example too would be like, say that you have an Aunt Shirley that is turning 30, and you do not want to serve like a lemon cake if her favorite cake is strawberry cake, right? It's her birthday, that's kind of an area of the theme, right? And you want to make sure that the food aligns with something that she likes, right? So the menu is very, very important, and it should be something discussed before you send out any invitations. And on top of that, you should definitely work that in once you know the theme with your budget as well. The guest list is definitely something that is tied heavily to your budget. You do not want to have a budget for 300 people and you invite 600 people, 400 people, or 305 people. You do not want to do that. You want to stay within range, and that's why you want to know your budget early on. Who can you invite and who you cannot invite. So once you understand what your range is by your budget, then you start to selectively choose who will best fit the theme. and let's use the example again of the oil company that has a natural environment. They have like all types of like healthy foods and things like that. You do not want to invite someone who does not care whatsoever about the healthy environment, right? The earth and things like that. They're not going to enjoy your space. And on top of that, that might not be something that they would want to commit to. And when they get there, that vibe that they have will definitely permeate throughout the party. So then you have guests saying like, ugh, what is this salad? Like, why would they choose water? What is all of this healthy stuff? You don't want to hear that, and you can actually troubleshoot that very early on by deciding, okay, this is someone who would appreciate it. This is a space that would broadcast it and help me market it. This is a person that could be able to, you know, really just accent that space and bring it to life, right? Another example that I love to talk about with the guest list is the seating chart, right? How are people maneuvered, really curated throughout the space to drive this great vibe. So with the oil experience that I was sharing with you, a good example is on one side of the party you might have all of the execs, and another side of the party you might have employees. That's probably not the best thing to do because you drive division in your room. One way to be able to bring that party together with the different stakeholders is kind of sprinkle some employees here and there, and sprinkle some executives and leadership here and there, and then anyone else that is invited could be sprinkled in there as well. And you'll start to see people swap stories and connect and now get to know each other and have a stronger bond within that party. And someone might have a friend all the way on the other side of the room, but with a carefully guided agenda. After they have went through the agenda and, you know, listened to and engaged with those at their table, now you'll start to see the person who had a friend across the room comes together and they bring someone from their table and be like, hey, did you know Sam was sitting at my table and he told me that he loves baseball. Yes, we're here for natural things, but he loves baseball. We love baseball. We gotta bring him to our next thing, right? Or Shirley loves to cook pies and we've been looking for a pie person. It's very important how you really curate your guest list, and it's a very crucial thing that you definitely want to take your time on, because this will either make or break your party depending upon who is there. Decorations come on like really quick, and that's me, right? Before the agenda, before everything, it's like, oh, we're gonna have streamers, we're gonna have balloons, we're gonna have confetti, and the cake gonna look like this, blah, 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 blah. But early on, after your budget, once you set your budget, once you look into your theme, once you get your menu together, once you know who's going to be invited, and you haven't invited them yet, but you know who you're going to invite, then you talk about the decorations. That way you definitely know what would accommodate the space that you have committed to. If you realize that most of your guests are more older and not so young, you find more of that stage of like, you wouldn't have like balloons in their seats and all of these things to fluster them. But if you realize you have a younger crowd, you can try things like photo booths and streamers and confetti, because the younger crowd is more tolerant to that stuff. So once you have all of these things in your foundation set, then you go into the decorations and start to look at what is feasible for the space. And this is now bringing your entire vision into a full, well-rounded space that once people step into the space, they know that it was curated specially for them, and they feel comfortable to be able to unwind and to unpack in that space. So it's very, very important to wait to find your decorations. Before you even send out the guest invitations is your agenda. Your agenda. Now this is my favorite. After decorating, this is my favorite thing ever, and I'll tell you why. It's my favorite because I have a formula, and I'm going to make a video all around agenda, but agenda is really where you get your guests the most excited. Yes, they're excited that you're inviting them. Yes, they're excited about your theme. Yes, they're excited about all these different things, but people love to be entertained, right? Entertainment can look like various things, right? It could be having someone come in and juggle. It could be people just talking amongst themselves. It could be people writing and getting to know who they are. The agenda is like, what are you doing with my 2 hours? And is it really going to have me excited enough to commit to the space that you're trying to take from me? And this agenda is just, it's just like my favorite. I'm gonna make a whole video around it. But one thing that I want to bring into precaution is, do not capitalize on your guest time with things to do in time slots that are just jam-packed. Always, 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 and I utilize this ratio myself, I try to make sure that there is 60% amount of time of people talking and 40% amount of time of people tuned in to the instructions and different details that you want to share with your crowd. The reason why is because people work, they rush to get there, and most people are really tapped a little bit before they even go out to any events, whether it's anything from a fun wedding all the way to just a corporate outing. People are tapped and they really rather be home and have something really laid back, not too much going on. So be very cautious about how you set your agenda up and make sure that people within that 60%, they know that they can engage with those around them, and that's where your energy starts to pick up within your event. The last thing that I wanted to say about the agenda, if you don't have the right agenda, you will lose money, you will lose time, and you will lose the vibe. And the vibe is all you have, because if you are a space curator, interior designer, program manager, anyone that is curating anything, what you do not want to lose is the vibe, because a bit of that is your reputation, and the other bit about that is it's really what carries in to people wanting to invest in what you're putting out there. Putting on any type of space curating, whether it's just a kickback at your home all the way to a big production, the biggest thing is that you're doing all of this so people can be able to have fun. It's not about you per se, but it's about what you can offer someone in your community to be able to feel uplifted, empowered, and resourceful, and all of those good things to add to them. So please, 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 please be mindful on how you capitalize on individuals' time. Ask for help, right? If you have even a small gathering, like a small Thanksgiving dinner or things like that, it's okay to ask people to bring napkins and make a list about it, right? Can you bring napkins? Can you bring soda? Can you bring the cake? Can you make this for me? Take some things off of your plate. You want to enjoy your space as well. So if you are boggled down with all of the tasks and got to do all this stuff, the guests did not just come to just embark on all of what you can plan, but also they want to get to know you. A good example of that is a Seat at the Table series had the Garden of Eden, and it was like basically our pilot event for Black Women Network. And I'm telling you, I was here, I was there, I was putting things up, blah, 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 blah. And I was constantly being interrupted by those who wanted to also do things within our community. Now, at first I was like, oh my gosh, can they talk to someone else? Let's get a meeting. But then I started to slow down and was like, no, this is why they are here. They knew that I was putting this on. They knew this was a great time for me to connect with them. And this might be the best time that they feel the most relaxed to have a decent conversation. Now, some of it was, people had an agenda, but for the most part, this is the most access they know that they're able to get to see me. And they're enjoying the space. And they want to see the person who put on this great space curating opportunity. So if I just continue to be like, oh, let me talk to you later because I got to put up the streamers and I got to pour the drinks and do blah, 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 I would not have had the opportunity to showcase the personality that I was able to put into my show, I wasn't able to showcase that as a person. And I wanted to enjoy what I actually invested a lot of time and energy. Good luck. When you utilize these 8 tools, you could be able to balance your space curating space, and people feel that balance, and now they're in your flow. When they show up and you have your theme going, you have the right budget, everyone's accounted for, and you have considered every one of your guests, before they even get to your door, they feel that from the invitation, from the expectation of what to wear in their attire and what they're going to eat and what to expect in the agenda. And you have them an hour before they get to you, a week before they get to you, in your flow. And they're showing up to the door just ready to get into it, right? And there might be a hiccup here, and there might be something that might not work out over there. But for the most part, what you have set and brought together within these tools and within this toolkit, you'll have a groundwork that people are like, it's okay, that's a small tip there, but look at what you did here, right? I'm just glad to be able to be here to support you here, right? And in this expectation based off of what you have allowed them to expect can be met halfway, and that energy is in that room, and you have now curated a beautiful and amazing space. So in saying that, I definitely want to say good luck. Please utilize these tips. I'm definitely going to have videos breaking down each point that I talked about today, because I did not want this to be a very lengthy video. But if you do, or if you are interested in any of the workshops that I have around space curating, have any questions or anything like that, or want to be a part of my space curating experiences to cook, to be able to do DIYs, build self-care routines and regimens, please sign up on our newsletter. And I'm putting all that information in the link below. And I'm definitely excited to see you guys. I definitely want to connect and build a community that utilizes resources and just feels refreshed and empowered. So I'm Ellie Jńe. You can follow me on YouTube, Pinterest, on my podcast and Instagram, all of those good things. And I look forward to actually growing with you guys. So in saying that, I'm signing off. Talk to you soon.